Hey guys, as here at Shield Canine, let's talk about how to avoid your dog getting e-collar wise. So this is a problem that a lot of people have. They ask me, my dog only behaves when he or she is wearing this, or how do you stop your dog from only behaving when he or she wears the e-collar? And the answer to that question is a little bit complex, so let's get into it. So, number one, 6, 7 month old German Shepherd. He's passed out on his, well, not quite passed out, but just half asleep on his cot there. Just in case you're wondering what the background noise is, that's a Spot, and he's chewing on something, so that's going to make a lot of noise. But anyways, back to being collar-wise and how to avoid it. So I've been taking him out a lot lately. We've done a little bit with the e-collar, but not that much. I've done a few recalls and stuff. He does have a basic understanding of what to do when he feels that sensation. He's been ignoring me a little bit lately. He's been requiring me to tell him to do something 2-3 times before he's obedient. He's getting a little bit older. He's getting a little more independent, a little bit more adventurous, so to speak. And, I'm noticing that his disobedience level is upping. And for those of you that are wondering, no, I don't just use the e-collar to train the dog. He's been doing exhaustive amounts of training for food. So I've been doing primarily food training with this dog actually to this point, and just a little bit of e-collar work here and there. So now I have a disobedience problem. I go outside, I know he's going to ignore half the things I ask him to do. So what's the solution? Is the solution to put this on him and teach him a lesson? Well, it would be the solution if I wasn't really thinking ahead. What that would do is it would quickly show him, oh, when I'm wearing this, I have to behave. But when I'm not, I can go and do whatever the heck it is I want. Things are optional. And that's not something I ever want to teach the dog. Right, Gage? Hey, Gage, for the sake of the video, can you just look over here? Hey, Gagey, you gonna look over here? Anyways, point being, yeah, can you look over here? Yeah. No, not come over here. Oh my God. Gage, please. Dog, please. There you go. All right. So, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, the last thing I want to do is I want to put this e-collar on him and go out there and correct him. What I am going to do is I am going to put this e-collar on him. This e-collar is dead. I don't even know where the remote is. I'm going to put this e-collar on him just as if I was going to use it. We're going to go out there, and he's going to ignore me half the time of the day like he has been over the last few days. All right? He's going to be a little bit disobedient today, but he's going to be wearing this. And I've already done this a few times, by the way. As frustrating as it is sometimes when you're like, hey, man, you just need to come over here. Why won't you come? Well, I know why he won't come. But I'm going to let him do all that with this on. And he's not going to make an association between this and obedience. Then I'm going to rein him in a little bit later. And he's going to learn a little bit of a lesson later on. For now, I'm going to continue with a lot of his food training. And he's going to randomly wear this a fair bit. And I might use it here and there, but it's not going to be a consistent thing, right? And then we're going to start, as things escalate, I'm going to start tightening things up, and I'm going to start using it consistently, and I'm going to start demanding more and more reliability in the dog's behavior. But for now, I'm going to allow a little bit of disobedience with this on. So I think you guys can kind of see what I'm doing here. I'm not teaching the dog what this means. Now, for dogs that come into our kennel, and the dog is, going through one of our training programs, a 3 or 4 week training program or whatever amount of time the dog is here for. Sure, we will always use the e-collar almost from, after we've done the basic leash work, we will be using the e-collar with that dog. But that dog always leaves the kennel with the e-collar on. So they never learn the difference between collar on, collar off, because they're never out there without the collar off. And that kind of brings me let's talk about the people that have this problem, people that commonly have this dog that knows what the e-collar is problem. Well, those people fall into 2 broad camps, okay? Camp number 1, your dog was doing something you didn't like. Maybe they were barking out the window or digging holes or getting on the counter, whatever it is you didn't like. You slap this e-collar on your dog, and when they did the thing you didn't like, you zapped the dog, and the dog learned that he or she couldn't do that. But here's the problem. Your dog's first exposure to this sensation, okay, was a negative one. It was like an extremely aversive experience. So your dog definitely, those kind of big experiences, those tend to imprint on the dog, right? And the dog definitely made the association between this strange new collar that he or she is wearing and that sensation, especially if you repeated the lesson a few times, right? Instead of putting that collar on, not doing anything with it, maybe letting the dog almost be disobedient with it on, and then using it. Instead, no, you made a big thing, right? You put this on, you made it nice and tight the way you're supposed to, you pointed the remote at the dog even, and then you zapped the dog for doing the thing you didn't want him or her to do. Well, of course your dog made that association. Camp number 2. You went to a professional trainer, or maybe you watched some YouTube videos, read a book, whatever it is that you did, and you did the e-collar training yourself, and your dog's actually pretty darn obedient on the e-collar. And the problem that you have is that he's only obedient on the e-collar. You take that e-collar off, he doesn't listen. Well, here's what you did. You put that e-collar on him. You showed him everything with the e-collar. But I guarantee you were asking him to do things without this e-collar as well. Formal commands. So like I define commands as informal and formal. So when I'm asking a dog to do something that I never want him to learn is optional, like for instance, a come command or something like this, I will never not have a means to hold the dog accountable for not listening or not following through with my instruction, whether that's a long line on the dog or whether that's an e-collar. All right, that way the dog never learns that disobedience is a possibility. All right, and what a lot of people do with the e-collar trained dogs is they're like, oh my God, he's so well behaved now, and they take the e-collar off and then they start to tell the dog to do things, and of course over time, the dog maybe ignores them once, twice, 3 times, 10 times, and now you have a dog that knows the difference. So then the person gets frustrated. They put the e-collar back on the dog. Today you learn a lesson, zap, zap, zap. And then the dog's like, oh man, okay, so that's the thing. That's the thing that makes me listen. So there are ways to fix dogs that are already e-collar wise, and maybe I'll go over a couple of them now. The number one thing that I say is put this e-collar on your dog all the time. Turn it off. You know, if you have an e-collar wise dog, do this. Put that e-collar on your dog for an entire week. Leave it turned off. You can have it loose at night. You can have it. Just make sure your dog wears it. Take it on, take it off randomly. Don't make a deal out of it. All right? And just let your dog wear it constantly. And over a period of time, your dog's going to stop being sensitized to this device, especially if you're able to safely allow your dog to disobey you with this device on. Maybe even take 2 weeks. Let the dog wear it and get away with not listening. Right? And then after that, intermittently use the collar for another week. And intermittently means not constantly. So I'll use it maybe one day, the next day I'll let him wear it, I won't use it. You know, the third day I'll use it again, and so on, and just be random with the collar. That's one simple method that you can use and to desensitize the dog, and then you can become consistent again. The other thing as well is, why are you using the collar that much if your dog's already trained? This collar goes from a training device to an insurance policy relatively quick if you're doing a good training progression, and that's another video altogether. But don't make this collar, don't be one of those people that constantly tickles your dog with the collar. And I say tickle because there's a lot of people, they don't go very high on the collar. Literally, it's a tickle. They just tickle the dog with the collar. It makes them feel good about themselves, you know, like, yeah, it doesn't hurt, you know, it's just a minor discomfort, so on and so forth. And they're just constantly kind of nicking the dog on low levels with the collar, and it's enough to kind of keep the dog somewhat in line, so they're pretty happy with that. Problem with that is you constantly have to tickle. The dog actually almost becomes addicted to the sensation of the collar. It's like, oh, I didn't feel my e-collar today. I don't know if I can sit, right? So don't get into that. Don't get into that habit. This e-collar in the beginning as a training device, yes, we use on very low levels, and we kind of show the dog with basically a tickle level what it is that he or she needs to do when they feel that specific sensation in whatever context that we put the training in. But very quickly, we need to get out of that. So once the dog understands on the low levels, now we need to take our training to the next level and to the next level until we're just using this to correct the dog for ignoring what a known behavior is. So like, for instance, once my dog has been trained properly to recall, and I put this on the dog, and I've been using the e-collar on the dog, and let's say, you know, he's a 3-4-year-old dog, he knows everything, and And one day he ignores me on the recall. Maybe he sees a squirrel. Maybe he's smelling the urine of a bitch in heat, and he ignores me. Well, guess what? It's time for a big lesson, right? I say, come. He ignores me. Bang! Heavy correction on the e-collar. And guess what? I'm probably not going to have to use it again for another few days. You know, if maybe another week. Now, for those of you that this brings me to the next kind of topic here. And I know I'm kind of jumping around. When do you take this off? Well, I compete with my dog, so in competitions I don't use it. And my dog's not collar-wise, even though we train with this thing on a regular basis. You know, in our IGP3, IGP2, IGP1, I can't use the e-collar, right? My dog's not collar-wise because I never did the stupid things that, well, I shouldn't say stupid, the things that people that don't know better do. I never did those things, so I can take the collar off my dog and compete, and he's not going to really know the difference. That being said, it's really important that, you know, if it's a companion dog, if it's a service dog, if it's a working dog of any kind, you know, if you can't use the e-collar all the time, don't get the dog super sensitized. Don't get the dog super wise to the collar. That's my major advice. And it's annoying to have to constantly push the button. The e-collar should be something that you use once in a blue moon as an insurance policy for the 1 in a million times when your dog doesn't listen to you or doesn't accept a warning. And that's another topic altogether, teaching your dog a warning, and I'll get into it at a later date. But I think I kind of covered this. Oh, another little trick to fixing a collar-wise dog. Do what I said with putting that e-collar on your dog and not using it, but only you can take a special collar. So you put the e-collar on, and let's say you have like a special flat collar that you put on your dog. Put this e-collar on your dog all the time, but only ever use the e-collar when you put a flat collar, that special flat collar that you have, when you put that on your dog. And then your dog will perceive that the e-collar is actually the flat collar, which it's not, but the dog will perceive that, hey, this e-collar that I wear is the same as that flat collar. And you know what? I'll talk more about that in another video, because it's something that people do with their competition dogs that are e-collar trained, which is pretty much every competition dog. So I'll talk a little bit more about that, because that's a little bit of an interesting concept that you might find useful. But suffice to say, I think I kind of covered this topic pretty exhaustively right now, and I think we'll call it a day on that one. Anyways, tune in for more videos. I'm going to have more helpful tips and hints and how-to training videos coming right up.